Thank you for allowing me to come and present here. I think that my presentation is going to be an outlier. Club Desire that I've been presenting on is neither designed nor at first was a juke joint or honky-tonk kind of thing. It was very, very interesting. We'll get into the history. So Club Desire is in New Orleans, and we'll get to a slide with the map so you can see exactly where it's at. But it was built in the late 1940s after World War II, specifically as an African-American dance hall and venue. It was built as a fancy, top-of-the-line place that was big lights, big fanfare with opening, place you went and got dressed up to go, and multiple acts every night. We'll get into what was actually there. There was food, a nice seafood restaurant upstairs, and like I said, a lot of entertainment. In 2008, FEMA, I worked with FEMA Historic Preservation, and in 2008 we identified this as a historic building. And that brings us into kind of more of an introduction. Why does FEMA even care about Club Desire? In 2005, when I learned about FEMA for the first time, I lived in New Orleans, and Hurricane Katrina hit, and the building that was Club Desire was damaged. The city of New Orleans identified it as a threat to health and safety, and they requested FEMA funds to demolish it. So there's the FEMA nexus right there. FEMA, because federal money is involved, or tax dollars are involved, we're required to review it, all of our projects, under the National Historic Preservation Act, Section 106. So our first job was to say, do we have a historic property there? Because clearly they're going to demolish it, we've got a project. And we dug up some fascinating stuff about this building. You can see the postcard on the left with an unknown date, but probably the very late 40s, with Club Desire. In its heyday, Charles Armistead, the proprietor, the one who built it, and on the upper right of that postcard is a small picture of the interior. We'll have some more interior shots, and you can see what it looked like in 2008. Now it looks in pretty good shape. We'll see some pictures of the interior. It was clearly not in great shape, and it's gotten worse. It's still standing today, and we'll get to our present day soon. So it was opened on Mardi Gras Day, well, Mardi Gras night, 1948, which was February 10th. The opening had been heralded by trucks going all around the city for weeks, announcing, hey, this club is coming. At the time, there was only one TV station, so TV wasn't a way that people got the word out. So they had these trucks roaming the street. They had the big Klieg lights going on when it was opening, newspaper articles. It was a big deal. It was opened, like I had said before, specifically for African American community in the sort of the heyday of segregation. They said, we're going to have a place downtown. Charles Armistead said, I'm going to have a place for us downtown that's fancy, people can get dressed and come to, and there's a big sign outside, I guess, that said, no boisterous or rude behavior will be allowed. It was a very classy place. So it was a centerpiece for many years of acts as they came into New Orleans, and startup bands too. You could see on the right is an older picture of the dance floor and the interior. The interior is large. It has a balcony around the top. I want to point this out here. They have a lot of these glass blocks, which you can see a little bit clearer in the new picture. But a lot of these glass blocks are used, and they had lights on the inside at the time. They're used in the facade and the two openings where you come into the building. They're in these pillars around the dance floor, and this I thought was really cool. The dance floor itself was elevated and put on these lit glass blocks. So this is the main part of the middle of that large building, elevated dance floor, specifically for housing dancers. And I'm personally, I do swing dance, I'm a swing dancer myself, I would totally appreciate this elevated lit dance floor. So you had the band downstairs, and then upstairs was a restaurant, there was landscape paintings in the back. Through its years, it was at some point a disco establishment, and it was repainted somewhat differently, but this was what the interior looked like in 2008. So who was there? The big story with Club Desire was Fats Domino. He had just started in 1948, from what I understand, and I'm only an expert on the little bit I know about Club Desire through this process. But he played a few times there, but was a little uncomfortable because it was just so fancy and he had to get dressed up and all that. So then he spent a couple of years right down the street at Club Hideaway, and eventually, after he got to be a big name, he came back for a few acts and then he was out. But all kinds of folks played here for many years, through the 40s, into the 50s. This is another interior shot of the front side of the building. You can see the bar here and what remains of the bar and the glass blocks there. So I promised you a map. Here we go. FEMA. So we went through the kind of the basic history. We realized it was historic. We worked with the State Historic Preservation Office to determine that it was definitely eligible for listing in the National Register of Historic Places. It's located, like I said, it was downtown. There were plenty of white-only places in the French Quarter. There were several bars at the time up here, kind of in this downtown and Central City area. This was where Club Desire is still there, at Desire and Law Street. And it was on a commercial corridor at the time. It wasn't a big area, it was in the central area. After the storm, that area in the 50s was probably kind of its heyday, where it was attracting a lot of, not well off, but clearly not very poor, folks who had the money to go out to do these things. And as we got through the 50s and into the 60s, that area had less and less money drawn. In the late 50s, there was a big housing project built right near it. It knocked down a lot of the commercial corridor. The owner died, Charles Armistead died in the early 50s, and it kind of began sort of a gradual slow decline. The Club Desire was a business through the 20th century. We could find no note of it being open at any time in the 21st century. So it looks like it closed down right prior to 2000. So we had this, clearly, the building had been abandoned for quite a while. It had decades and decades of demolition by neglect at some point. The city had condemned it. They're asking FEMA to knock it down. So what do we do next? We determined that clearly it was going to be an adverse effect to knock it down. And as a federal entity, we have to resolve that adverse effect through negotiating an agreement and reaching out to as many people as we possibly could. The first thing we tried to do is, can we avoid adverse effect? Can we find a credible buyer? I mean, that's not FEMA's job to go out and find funding sources for this, but we tried to do our best to encourage folks to do that. We outreached to everyone we could possibly think of, and everyone that we talked to, we said, do you have anybody else who would be interested in coming to the table and help us talk about this project? There was some good newspaper ads. We did outreach on social media. We had a bunch of folks who helped us. The State Historic Preservation Office did a bunch of legwork with us to help talk to people, encourage people to, find someone who had money who would be happy to save this. But the fact of the matter is it's in a place that was hard hit by the storm, just like so many other places, but not a vibrant area right at the moment. The woman who lives next door, who is the spokesperson for the Upper Ninth Ward Florida Desire community, she has been very vocal that she would like to turn this into a community center for at least 10 years. I mean, I think more. She's been trying to work on turning that building into a community center and has not gotten any purchase on it. And as far as she's concerned, the way it sits right now, open, she would love to see it be alive again without the funds for it, with it being sort of open to vandals right now. It's literally falling down. She's happy to have it move forward however it does. So, doing our best with trying to find a buyer, but it just didn't happen. So where we stand on it right now is it's still condemned by the city. Nobody has stepped forward to purchase it, and yet it has not yet been demolished. So the next step, since we weren't able to avoid that adverse effect, to avoid the demolition, the last thing we did, and what I think is the reason I'm here today, but what I think some good that will come out of the final death part of this building, if it does get demolished, if somebody doesn't step forward, which I'm not anticipating, but it could happen. We left an opening for it. Is we kind of came out of it saying, okay, if this building is going to get knocked down with federal funding, what can we do as a federal entity to bring some public benefit out of it, out of this demise? That's where we worked with all those people that engaged us and sat at the table and we negotiated these things that we're going to do afterwards. And I got to say right now, we wrote this all out in a memorandum of agreement. The city has not signed it yet. It has been for city council twice. They've had it since, I think, early December. You know, whatever. There's not a lot I can do. But once it's signed, we will keep moving on these. We're going to do what I call a memorialization package, archival quality photography. The photos that were in here, I wanted to pull some of the archival photos that we had already taken, because we've taken them, they were all like 80 megabytes, and I just put the quick ones in. So we've got really good quality digital photography. We are going to be writing a narrative history that includes the context of that commercial corridor, so it isn't just about Club Desire, it's actually about that small little commercial neighborhood and what happened there, because clearly at the time, although Club Desire was an anchor, it wasn't all about that one club. It was also about Club Hideaway. It was also about the other things in the area. So we're going to put some context into that. We're going to work with Marguerite to identify folks who would be able to give some history into Club Desire, and hopefully we're there during what we in the historic preservation, or what we look at as its heyday, which was really the late 40s and through the 50s. I know that it continued past then into the disco era and such, but that's sort of a different thing. We're going to oral interviews. We're going to do a video that's a short enough clip that people with short attention span with videos like myself will actually watch online, and we're going to distribute it without, just give it to folks to be able to use wherever, however they want to. So that will help engage people. Marguerite was really the community member who lives right there and is sort of the unofficial caretaker. She was kind of excited about that because she wanted that as a way to live, and hopefully we can get some of those oral interviews into that clip is the idea. We're going to do a marker on site, and I'm going to present at the symposium, check, which I'm here. And I'm trying to think if there was anything else. I think that those were the main things that we agreed to do coming out of that, to give. It's a memorialization to this Club Desire. It's an amazing building. It's an amazing history that went on there. There are very few snippets of it in sort of our popular New Orleans history. That R&B era is something that, jazz has been documented ad infinitum. We've got that like rolling. The R&B area is just, from what I can see as a resident there, it's just really starting to be kind of paid attention to and listened to a little bit. That was the last thing. The sign. There's a sign above the main bar in the front that says the club. This is the downtown club with the uptown ideas. we're saving that, we're gonna hopefully be able to roll that into the community center if it happens in that neighborhood, and if it doesn't,